Welcome to the Happiness and Success After Illinois Tech podcast with the Illinois Tech alumni. We're so happy you're here, and we can't wait for you to be inspired from all these real-life stories of people that attended Illinois Tech, graduated, and found success. No matter your major, your background, or where you're from, success and happiness are possible, and here are the stories to prove it. Welcome to this episode, everyone. My guest this week is Harold Morrow Jr. And Harold and I met. I don't necessarily know all the guests that I'm gonna connect with, but you and I actually did have a conversation because I saw you speak on campus at Kaplan several weeks ago, and I thought it'd be fun to interview you for the podcast because it's all about alumni and their success and what they're doing now. So welcome. I'm happy you're here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's good to chat with you. So tell everyone what you studied at Illinois Tech, what you're doing now, and about that journey. Did you know right away you wanted to be an engineer, and how did that all work?
Right. Well, my name is Harold Morrow Jr., and I am a graduate of the Mechanical Engineering College, Armored College of Engineering, 1985. So ME85, those are my acronyms, they're my code. I'm a native of Chicago. I work right now for a major power tool company in Wisconsin, and I am a principal engineer there, responsible for advanced development of power tools, cordless tools, and batteries and chargers. So that's what I do right now. I've been in engineering for going on 38 years now. I like to be exact. So in December of 2023, December 21st, 2023, it'll be 38 years for me. So
wow. Did you always know? So my older son, graduated from here as a mechanical engineer, material science engineering, in 2019. He didn't always know he wanted to be an engineer. He didn't even know what engineering was when he was even like a senior in high school. Did you wanted to study engineering, or how'd that come about?
Yeah, I knew that for a long time. I kind of grew up in cars, planes, and trains, all things mechanical. When I was a kid, I was probably one of the first people that had a Lego set, and I think my parents were the first parents that stepped on a Lego barefoot. So, and back then in the 60s, they were made of a lot more brittle plastic than they are now. They did not give. So I remember my father screaming, after he stepped on one of those. But I grew up with Lego logs, and know a lot of the young people never even heard of that. But before this digital age, there were a lot of toys that cultivated the hands-on mechanical aptitude. And to your extent, you can really kind of go with that. It had Lego, erector sets. I really grew to love cars at a very early age. And at age of 8, I decided that I wanted to do something mechanical. At the age of 12, I wanted to be a mechanic because I thought a mechanic designed vehicles. My mom said, I don't know if it's a mechanic that does that. She sent me to the library, and I found out it was a mechanical engineer.
I remember you telling that story and at Kaplan. I thought that was so interesting. Like your young brain is like, that's what I want to do. And your mom's like, no, that's not what it's called. It's called this.
Right.
Kudos to your mom, because back then too, it wasn't like we didn't have the internet. She couldn't go online and say, okay, what does someone that wants to study this do? She just knew, all right, it means you're going to have to study something in this regard. And that was smart of her to guide you instead of just.
Yeah. She didn't know what it was called, but she knew it was a mechanic because she said, well, a mechanic fixes them, but they don't make them. So you need to go find that out. So I did that. And from age 14, I started to apply to Illinois Tech at age 14 as a freshman in high school.
What?
Yeah, that's an interesting story. I don't know how much you want to hear about it, but I figured if I started early enough, I'd have name recognition by the time I became a senior.
Wow. So you knew of the school and you're like, that's where I want to go at 14?
I knew the school. Yeah.
That's crazy. Why? How did you know it? Like what was the...
I went to a college and career fair at 14.
Okay.
And I got introduced to several schools. One was Emory-Riddle. I got introduced to different schools for aeronautical engineering. I was in the cars, planes, trains, right? So I knew about some other schools that were out there, but IIT was a very well-known engineering school, and it was local.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to really move. I wasn't one that really wanted to move away from home. I was very close to my parents. They were older. I was kind of like the only child. My sisters were almost 10 years older than me. So I wanted to be kind of close to home. More importantly, though, I was very impressed with everything that I'd read about Illinois Tech from the college fairs. So I started going to college fairs at a freshman in high school to know where I wanted to go to school. So I was a very early adopter of kind of seeking out where you want to go before
I'd
you have
say.
to.
I'm guessing that your friends at 14 years old and freshmen in high school are like, what are you going to a college for? That you just started high school?
Right. So I had a kind of upbringing that because it's not common doesn't mean it's not profitable.
Yeah.
I've always had more of a leader style rather than a follower style. In fact, that's what the innovators do is you do things that haven't been done before.
Mm-hmm.
And if you ever heard of S-curve economics, when you look at the S-curve economics, the lower part of the S, those are the early adopters. And I've always been an early adopter. So
cool.
that was just part of kind of how I was raised.
I love that. How did do you think it's because of your parents? Do you think it's because you were like an only child with these older siblings, 10 years older? Like, what do you attribute that to?
Yeah, so my mom was an early adopter, I believe. She was one of the few African Americans at that time to actually go to college. My mother took a year of college back in 1939. And it wasn't common for African American, let alone a woman,
Women,
to go to
yeah.
college. She didn't finish, but at least she did. She got 1 year, and she was actually an entrepreneur. She actually started her own dressmaking business. She started sewing when she was a child, so she was an early adopter, and she actually made garments for a lot of leading musicians and from the Chicago area. Friends of Ray Charles and Ramsey Lewis and guys like that. So she's always been in an environment where she's been with other movers and shakers. So she raised us to not just be comfortable with our existing environment, but to always be able to network and to stretch our limits.
It's awesome. I had a feeling. That's why I asked the question, because it's not common to be 14 thinking about college, number one. And it's certainly, I don't think, common now I think nowadays parents are encouraging kids younger. I think it's actually almost kind of crazy how we're already talking about college more in middle school sometimes, but
yeah,
that's a different story. But I had a feeling that you were influenced by them in some way, seeing them do things that were not typical and common. And that's kind of where you got that, all right, like anything's possible kind of attitude, which I love. That's so cool. It's a cool story. All right. So you get to Illinois Tech, you finally get in. And did anything change when you got here?
Well, there's a little story about that. I don't want to go too far on that because although I started when I was freshman, by the time I got a senior and applied, I actually got rejected.
Really?
Yeah. So my grades in high school were not the best grades. I think I went to public school. It was a good public school, but I was number 97 out of 281. And my ACTs weren't that good. I mean, I think I was like a 23 overall or so forth. I was pretty good in math, or 23 overall. I had some family illnesses that really distracted me. And I just really didn't try really hard.
Yeah.
I just got to, I didn't really go the full on what I really could have done. I just, I look back now and my potential was a lot better, but I just didn't really apply myself very well. Okay. So I got rejected. Now this is a turning point that taught me for the rest of my life. I only applied to one school, which was Illinois Tech. Mm-hmm. So everyone else is applying. They got applications going all over the place. My senior year, I said, I'm going to Illinois Tech. I've been, this is my plan. I've been, since freshman high school, I should be able to get in. No, I didn't get it. I got that letter, and I was devastated. I went out on the curb, lived in the south side of Chicago, and I cried for about an hour.
Aw.
So my mom comes out after about an hour and says, "Okay, are you done?" And I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" She says, "Come in the house." She says, "Sit down." She says, "Okay, are you done?" I was like, "Well, I didn't get into school." And she says, "Why?" Well, I'm like, blaming everyone else. And in the letter, it said, "We do not believe that you are IIT material." I'm summarizing. I can't remember the
Yeah.
exact word. It was like, I'm 40 something years ago. And it said you were not IIT material. And my mom said, is that you? It's like, well, they said I couldn't go. She said, no, no, no. Is that you? And she taught me, she said, if you remember the way I raised you, is that no one defines you except you. And I happen to be a Christian, and we believe in the author of infinite intelligence that God will, God created us. Okay. I don't say everybody else necessarily has to believe that, but that's just how I was raised. So she said, if that's not you, reject the rejection letter.
Funny.
Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, you could do that? She's like, who says you can't?
Right.
Again,
Right.
she's pushing the boundaries. She said, go tell them who you are. Don't let an ACT test or don't let a low score in an exam define you.
Right.
So I said, well, okay. So I did what I was raised to do. I got dressed. I got, Dressed for Success. There's a book out there, by the way, called Dress for Success. It still may be in print, but there's a what it really means is
Psychology.
you have 15 seconds to make a good impression visually before you even talk.
Yep.
Okay, whether it's on Zoom or live. So you
Yep.
need to, even if you're in an interview on Zoom, you need to dress for success. I mean, I could have come here in a more relaxed, but I told my wife I was coming to college, so I had to get college like. So my shirt is outside my sweater. Normally, like I normally don't dress this way, but I'm with younger people.
Yeah, there
So
you go.
I dressed up in a suit and I went to Pearlstein Hall, or no, E1. I think that's where the dean of engineering still sits. I'm not sure, but E1 building. And I introduced myself, and I'll speed it up right now. We don't have that much time. But the administrative assistant says, "Hey, may I help you?" It says, "Yes, I'm really here to talk to the dean of engineering about my rejection letter." And she was dumbfounded. She's like, "What?"
Ah.
Says, "Yeah, I'm really here to reject the rejection letter." And she didn't know how to answer that. She went in and talked to him, and 5 minutes later, I'm talking to the dean of engineering, and I plead my case. And he said, "Mr. Morrow, I must say I've never had a student that has actually rejected a rejection letter." And I said, "Well, I was told that anything's possible, so I'm here to see what it can do." And I told him that I will graduate from your school if I'm given a chance. And he said, "Well, even though your grades don't show that, your tenacity does show that you might have something there. I'm going to give you a chance." So this was in the summer of 1981, or the spring, excuse me. And I went to a summer pre-engineering program held by the infamous Nate Thomas back in the day. Nate Thomas was one of the most influential um, academic counselors in the Chicagoland area. He worked for IIT, and he helped hundreds of African American engineers, and from all different cultural backgrounds. He helped us get through school and get summer internships. So I joined that program. Long story short, 4.5 years later, the same man that rejected me on the letter was the same man that gave me my degree.
I love it.
1st, 1985.
That's an awesome story. That's an awesome story. Kudos to your mom for giving you that advice and telling you like, no, that has to be your thing. I'm like you. I didn't get great grades in school. But anyone that knows me now knows what I've accomplished would never even know that.
Right.
because it just wasn't my thing. But I have all these other talents, and I am smart, and I pick things up quickly. But my grades didn't reflect the A's and B's, whatever. But I was like you, I didn't really try very hard. If I tried really hard, I probably would have had straight A's. But I wanted to
Right.
have a social life, and I played an instrument. I was a cheerleader, all this other stuff. Who cared, right?
Right. Right.
But your mom is so smart to say that doesn't define you. The test scores, not everyone that's super smart does do well on tests and all of that. And kudos to that dean of engineering who said, wait a minute, it doesn't reflect here, but that doesn't mean that's all of you, and that doesn't define you. And just it's such a great story, and it's so important for the students. I tell them all the time, like, just because it doesn't exist already doesn't mean you can't do it, number one. And just because you don't see it out there, it's great if you can see someone doing what you're doing. That means it's possible. If you don't see anyone doing what you want to do, that means maybe you're the person to create it. And you just need people around you, like your mom and like mentors and coaches, to say, like, to guide you, to encourage you, to show you what's possible, to say, no, that doesn't, I'm not going to let that limiting belief define you and make you think that it's not possible, because then you're just going to be sitting around complaining about it, and you're not going to have what you want. So why
Right.
not go for it? Oh my God, I love that.
Definitely.
It's a great story. It's a great
Yeah.
story.
And I've learned even more. So when I got into school, I did pretty good the first year. I got like a 2.8, out of 4, not bad. And then some other illnesses happened within the family. Mom really got sick again. I got distracted again. I think I had a 1.6 in my sophomore
Wow.
year, and I'm like, oh my God, 4 Ds oh, here we go, it's over. And I caught myself and says, look, I said I was going to graduate from this school. They went beyond to give me an opportunity here. I got to suck it up. And I sucked it up. And my last semester, I had 19 hours to graduate, and I only had so much money. I said, it's already 4 years. I guess I need 19 hours to graduate. I can't go for another year. I took 7 engineering courses, and I got a 3.3 out of 4.
Wow.
All my other friends are taking the basket weaving and things like that. So this is one thing I learned, though. Success does not mean never fail. It means you never quit.
Yeah.
Failure is a way to succeed.
Yeah.
It's just called try, fail, adjust, not try, fail, quit.
Yeah.
So
right.
in the real world, you will suffer some tribulations, and you will not get where you expect to get the first time. So what do? Do you turn around, you're like a dog, you roll over and wet on yourself? No, you have a choice to admit to the person that doesn't believe in you, or that party that says you can't do it. Who are you going to let win?
Yeah.
There's usually 2 people on either shoulder. It's a story I tell. There's a guy on my left shoulder that says, you can't do it. Yep. This is too hard. See, I told you it wouldn't work. There's another little guy on the right shoulder that says, you can do it. Who are you going to choose to believe? Yeah. And I choose to believe the guy on the right.
Yeah, you can believe either one, and then either one will happen. It's whatever you believe in that's going to happen. Yeah, that's great. I love that. Okay, so knowing what you know now, obviously you had a unique upbringing and a set of parents. It sounds like. I mean, not every successful person had a great upbringing. Not every successful parent had parents that were encouraging them and doing the right thing. A lot of people had to do it on their own. So you had that. Besides the support you had and the guidance from them, is there anything you wish you'd learned sooner during your education, like when you were 18 versus besides like the grades and kind of putting your head down and staying the course earlier? Is there anything you wish you'd learned sooner?
Yeah, I wish I would have even stepped out further to create relationships with other students that didn't look like me. I wish I would. I mean, I was already a pretty forward person. I mean, there's a young man, I think I might have mentioned this when we talked, right? Greg Dow. Still haven't met him yet since then. I mean, I still haven't been reconnected, but he was instrumental with me graduating from IIT because he was a study partner. And I'm Black, he's white, I'm not in a frat, he's in a Greek frat. I mean, we had so many things of difference, but we were both engineers and we connected in that last year. And if it wasn't for me to have someone I can grow with and bounce things off of, I wouldn't have graduated, because it was a key course that we both relied on each other, so we partnered and relied on each other. I wish I could have done that more, and I've learned to do that throughout my career. But if I would have done that more, created more collaborative relationships when I was at Tech, I think I would have even gone farther faster.
It's funny you're mentioning that, because that seems to be the theme when I'm talking to people recently and my son, who graduated in 2019 from Illinois Tech, said the same thing. He wishes he would have garnered more relationships sooner and made those connections. And I was encouraging him to do that, but I think he was playing sports too. He's busy, and he had that group of people to relate to, but I think he was just more siloed in that initially. And he was really overwhelmed. He barely got into Illinois Tech. So he wasn't the smartest kid in the room by far. And so he was struggling with his classes, and then he's playing sports. So he was more overwhelmed. But I said, go make friends with the people that don't have the same strengths as you. And then you can help each other. Like maybe they want to be better at basketball, and you can go help them lift weights or whatever. And they know these other things. It's like, there's people that don't ever even study, and they're just acing things left and right. I'm like, well, that's not going to be you, but maybe that can be you in another way. So he wishes he would have done. He did it eventually, junior year, end of sophomore year, but he didn't do it as early as he could have. And he thinks he would have gone further, and he would have done better with all the classes sooner too. So and people our age have said the same things to me. They wish and I know I did. I wish I would have connected with more people and used more resources when I was at school.
Well, something else I've learned, and I think I said this, and to say this on a college campus, I know shocks people, but it's the truth. A students usually work for B students at companies owned by C students.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, what do you mean? It's like, well, just acing a class does not mean that you are a world changer or that you are a vision maker.
Yeah.
I mean, evidence has shown only 14 to 16% of the CEOs of major Fortune 500 companies even have a college degree.
I know.
Am I saying college is bad? No, but I'm saying that it's only part of the solution.
Right.
Still have to learn to negotiate, still have to learn to collaborate, still have to learn to work as a team. And all that happens extracurricular from your classes.
That's right. That's right.
So if I would have learned those networking skills earlier, that would have helped me. So for a young person that's coming in, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to be the most successful. You need to have smart people working for you. Almost everybody that works for me when I was a manager, I'm an individual contributor now, right? So I built a team in about 2 years, gave them to someone else, and now I'm an advanced engineering person looking. I have a patent that's coming out. I can't tell you what it is, but it's going to be, next year, and I can broadcast it on my LinkedIn. But I'm in that part where I'm an individual contributor. But in order to get to that point, I had to do a lot of soft skills, a lot of people skills. And that's something you don't learn, especially in tech schools, you don't learn. And in the last couple of years in the pandemic, talk about being siloed, I think the risk is students are getting even more siloed.
Agree. I totally agree.
Everything online, and they didn't get a chance to get out. The best thing in the world is to go out and to meet someone and talk to them and to join a user group. You know what a user group meeting is? We used to actually go to a place with other people that use the same software that we use, because I'm an engineer.
Yeah, I know. So we
used to go there and we used to talk software live to each other.
Yeah.
And it was really cool because we learned. In fact, my career advancement came because of the conferences, the magazines that I read, and the relationships with people from different disciplines and different companies and things like that. So,
okay, so we just have a couple minutes left. I have one final question for you.
Sure.
Best advice for a college student looking for a great job, about to graduate. What's your best piece of advice?
Well, if they're a freshman, get as many opportunities to collaborate with faculty. Go to the office hours for your instructors. even if you don't have a problem, you create the relationship.
Yep.
Because the
Like it's the
relationship
same thing. They're going to remember you, and you're going to have that relationship. Yep.
More than that, the relationship is the glue that fills in the cracks from the fundamentals.
Yep.
So you can have fundamentals, but if you don't know how to apply the fundamentals, knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge. Think about kinetic energy versus potential energy.
Yes, you're right. You can know all day long, but if you don't apply it, it doesn't do you any good.
Right. I mean, awesome. You don't want to get stuck in a lab just delivering things and shove it under the door when it's done, because that's what happens if you're just super smart, but you can't relate. You cannot relate. This is very key. Being able to relate a highly technical thing to a non-technical person is how you're going to get ahead.
Agree. We tell the students that all the time. Because it's like, I say, you got the degree. What else you got? Everyone graduating is going to have the same degree you have, very similar degree to what you have. They have all the technical knowledge. Now, what are you going to do with all the rest of it? The soft skills, all of the things that are going to contribute to you being a good team member, a good manager, a good leader, all of those things. Yeah.
Right. How do you contribute to the bottom line? How does that knowledge that you just created, how does that increase the stock share, or increase market share, or decrease warranties, recalls, things of that nature? You have to be value-based, not knowledge-based.
Love it.
Now, if you're a senior, you have to accelerate all of that and join LinkedIn, whatever other online communities are to have relationships.
Smart. Well, thank you. It's so fun to talk to you. I'm thinking maybe we do a part 2 next year, because there's a lot to talk about and there's a lot of experience. I think you can obviously you can offer a lot. But it's been really fun to talk to you. And I know the students are going to get great lessons from you and insight. And I got some new stuff today too. So happy to talk to you, and thank you for your time. How can students get a hold of you if they want to connect?
So they can reach me, Harold A. Morrow Jr. on LinkedIn. Just go to linkedin.com, search for me, and we can go from there. You can also email me at HaroldJR, that's HaroldJR at yh3e.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Harold. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye. Thanks for listening, everyone. Check out the Illinois Tech Connect platform. It's the official networking site for Illinois Tech alumni. It's operated by Illinois Institute of Technology Alumni Association with help from Career Services. The aim of the platform is to connect our entire alumni community to provide a space for communication, networking, and other opportunities. Also, join the Illinois Tech Career Services group on LinkedIn and learn about all things career-related. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Finally, as an alum, whenever you need career guidance or advice, you're always welcome to connect to the Career Services Department, make an appointment with a career coach, and take advantage of this lifelong resource available to all alumni. We can't wait to help you, and more importantly, we can't wait to see what you do.